Hello, everybody. Thank you for being there. So here we go, another presentation, this one from the Portuguese team, and it is about suggestions to improve science communication in Portugal. The Portuguese team is led by Ana Delicado, and the other researchers are Jussaro Roland and me, and Jussaro are from sociology, and I am from political science. Without going too much again into the public consultations, it was a nice moment, not just to collect information, but an opportunity to involve citizens and to understand their perceptions and collective representations about the topics and about how to improve science communication. And we had a script during the discussions that our facilitators use, and it had three goals: to understand how citizens are informed, to assess the reliability of the sources, and also the proposals to improve scientific communication. So we had suggestions. We are focusing here in these proposals, and we had suggestions in several dimensions in terms of language accessibility, the content that should be addressed, formats that should be used, the medium to convey scientific information, who should be the producer, the target audience, if it should be a general message to the public or a targeted audience and customized message towards children or elder groups. And so there were really different dimensions, but here we are focusing on the formats that they suggest, and we are putting those formats suggested by our participants in light of the models of science communication. Here we rely on Massimiliano Bucchi and Brian Trench, and of course we use these three different models. Deficit model is quite consensual in the literature. Then you have an intermediary model that is a dialogue that involves the public, but they don't have significant influence on the final outcomes. And then the engagement that, of course, concerns more participatory and more active interactions. So the suggestions that we received, we put them in, so from left to right, from deficit to engagement. We use different colors that are about the topic. So sometimes you have colors that you have formats that are topic specific or that they were quite dominant in one of the topics. So we highlight that. Then other times you have formats that are in blue, that they were suggested more or less the same in all the topics. And so let's have a look at the deficit model and the suggestions that we received here. The first one is science sections in media. So that was really dominant, and it was shared in every topic. Then you have the participation of scientists in media and social media that also happened during the discussions in every topic, but they were really intense during the climate change discussions. The labeling was particularly important to climate change and to GMOs. A scientific information repository or sort of content aggregator that was also dominant in climate change, but also in GMOs appeared sometimes. Then infographics, images and videos were also more suggested during the climate change discussions. Then you have science in popular media. So you have examples of like soap operas, for instance, that here are really popular in Portugal. You have a dedicated TV channel that was mentioned a lot of times for climate change. Also, sometimes in the vaccines discussion, but mainly in climate change. And then you have flyers and outdoors, science in school curriculum, podcast that was suggestions made during the vaccines discussions. And video games, that is a topic specific. We only received that suggestions for the CAM during the CAM discussions. Let's have a look now at the dialogue model. So we received more often the suggestions about lectures by scientists in schools, and that suggestion occurred in every topic. So in many discussions in every topic. Then you have FameLab and PubHD and Science Shop that they were topic specific. They only appeared during the climate change discussions. Then science in fairs and phone lines where citizens can reach the phone and talk with the scientists and ask questions directly to the scientists. And there were suggestions made during the vaccines discussions. The more the suggestions, the formats that we received that we considered them to be from the engagement model were local debates, so local institutions facilitating and disseminating the different dynamics and perceptions that scientists have about the topic. So that was mentioned many times and in all the topics. Then you have public consultation that was dominantly mentioned during the climate change discussions, a few times for during the vaccines discussion as well, and co-design and local knowledge, that they were two formats that they were only suggested during the climate change discussions. So we did quantitative analysis, but also qualitative analysis. So we have a lot of examples for all of them, and here just for you to grasp it. So for the deficit model, a health television, so this direct TV channel that we were mentioning before, as an example for the dialogue model, a scientist that goes to school and does a mini conference, and so the child then can go home and even share this information with their family. From the engagement model, it is a suggestion that came from a participant that already participated previously in other projects, that there were participatory projects. So she had this reference, and it was a project that involved institutions, scientists, and local communities designing policies and implementing these different solutions to adapt to climate change in different municipalities in the country. And so as a conclusion, we would say that the public still perceives science communication very much through this vertical and dominant one-way communication from scientists to the public. So within the deficit model. So most of the suggestions came within the deficit model. However, we also noted that citizens suggest what they know. So if they only know things from the deficit model, they will only suggest formats from the deficit model, because we had participants that had previously engaged in participatory science or in other engagement formats, and they were able to make suggestions that belong to this engagement model. So they suggest what they have experienced. And when they experience formats from the engagement model, they suggest them. If they did not experience them, probably they don't even know that they exist. And so they rely on what they know, and what they know is still very much focused on the deficit model. Just as a note, some citizens have trouble distinguishing science communication from science education. So for them, there are fuzzy boundaries between these two fields. And then we need to address the dominance of climate change topic in the discussion. So most suggestions were really regarding climate change. We need to understand that climate change was really a hot topic out of these four. It was considered because we have like a final inquiry at the end, and our participants clearly mentioned that the climate change was the most important topic, the most relevant topic, because it has a lot of social consequences, and so on one way it was really a hot topic, and hot topics receive more suggestions than the cold topics. As cold topics, for instance, we can look at GMOs and CAM as being cold topics during these discussions. Also, let's just note that we had some participants that already participated in previous projects of the Institute regarding climate change, and within a more participatory nature. And so there was also a little bias because of that, because we had few participants that were already connected with these engagement formats that exist. And so let's finish here. I don't have much time, but just as a provocation and as a question that we can discuss by the end, should we give the public what they want or what we believe is better for them? So the public clearly wants suggestions and formats from the deficit model, but if we believe that they are suggesting that because they don't know that other possibilities exist, should we go? Should we just reply to this, or should we design solutions that we believe that can be better for them, and maybe they are from the engagement model and from the dialogue model? So I would like to hear from you about that, and also if you have questions, please give them and we will address them very briefly. Thank you very much for being here.